What's up mga idol? Okay, welcome to my live. So, ngayong gabi, ah, gano tayo? Magre-react tayo, panoorin natin ang interview ni Tito Boy Abunda kay former senator at aspirant, presidential aspirant, Bong Marcos o mas kilala sa tawag na BBM. So, panoorin natin. Magano tayo mga idol. Mag-react tayo mamaya. So, wait lang. Wala akong monitor. Wait lang. Kukunin ko lang yung monitor ko idol. Wait lang ha. Wait lang. Wait. So, here we go. Okay. So, panoorin natin ang interview ni Tito Boy kay Senator Bong Marcos. Okay, tapos mamaya mag-react tayo mga idol. So, naka-live tayo ngayon sa aking YouTube channel. So, kung bago ka pa lang dito sa aking YouTube channel, please subscribe na at i-click nyo na rin ang notification bell para lagi kang updated dito sa aking channel mga idol. Okay, sige. Panoorin natin.
Ginawa nila through Administrative Order number 2021-40. Pinuri po ito ng mining industry. Samantala, binatikos naman ito ng mga environment and human rights defenders. Ang aking tanong, Senator Bongbong, you're applying to become the next president of the Philippines. If elected, pagtitibayin mo ba ang mga desisyong ito ni President Duterte at sa kanyang DNR o ipapawalang bisa?
Well, ang mining talaga ay very controversial, pero dapat ang tingin natin dyan, that is also very valuable source of revenue for the government dahil ang laki ng ating mga natural resources dito sa Pilipinas. Dapat siguro, lalo na in these difficult times, we should take advantage of that. However, we have seen some of the disasters that have happened when it comes to mining. Kailangan lang talaga natin iwasan yan, the effect on the environment. We have sufficient regulations and we have sufficient monitoring, but hindi nasusunod. That is always the problem. We have the laws, but we are not able to implement them. We are not able to fully enforce them sometimes. So if we can do that, if we can take care of making sure that the environmental impact is in accordance with the law, then I think we can carefully exploit the natural resources to help the recovery of our economy. Now, when it comes to open pit mining, I think I'm a bit wary about that because it is very difficult to control the pollution that's caused by open pit mining, the leaching that occurs in open pit mining. There are many occurrences that even after the mine has been closed and they have covered it up and they have planted trees or they built houses on it, lumalabas ang lason. May lumalabas na kung ano-anong mga chemical that are bad for the health of the people who are around it. Kaya siguro pag-aralan ngayon natin yan, baka naman meron silang iniisip na bagong teknolohiya na pwede natin gamitin na sasabihin na safe ang open pit mining. But again, I have been studying this environmental problem that we have had since I was still in school, and open pit mining is one of those operations that talagang it raises alarms when it comes to, especially when it comes to exploiting natural resources and allowing the use of open pit mining.
Okay, you worry about open pit mining, but you are open to sustainable mining.
Absolutely. I think it can be done. It is done in very many countries. We will just have to make sure that we are cooperating with the private companies who are involved in this operation. And I think that there are great opportunities to be had, so long as I say we are very careful about it. One of the things that we have in the Philippines is nickel. Nickel is an essential part now of batteries, the battery technology. So that is going to explode, and it already has actually. And that is something that we can take advantage of. We have sources of lithium, also battery technology. So there are really there's so much potential in all of that. So I think we have to look at everything, because we have been left by the COVID in a very precarious economic situation, and therefore we have to explore everything that we can do to revitalize that
Kung saan tayo pwede kumita in terms of revenue, because napakalaki ng contribution din ng mining industry to our economy.
Absolutely, and the estimates are in the billions of dollars per year. We cannot just ignore that, and we should make sure that like in any other industry, that the value and the profits stay within the community, and those that are working in the mines take advantage of this windfall.
So, Senator, to be more specific, doon sa ban na nilift ni President Duterte, doon sa new permits ng mining, that's not a problem to you. Your problem is the open pit mining.
Yes.
Kasi if we talk about mining, yung mga nagsasabing responsible miners, ilan naman sa kanila, di ba? May mga nangyayari pa na water pollution, yung mga displacement of the locals,
That's right, yes.
at marami pang iba.
Yes, but those are the things that we can remedy, because if the mining operation, if we keep it away from, I suppose, the congested communities kung saan maraming tao, it will make things a little better. Another issue about mining that's not spoken about very much are the benefits and compensation of those who are working in the mines. They work in a very difficult and dangerous situation.
You're talking about salaries, not just people who were displaced.
No, I'm talking about the people who actually go into the tunnels, and marami tayong nagiging casualty dyan. Kailangan natin na balikan, tiyakin naman ang kanilang kalagayan.
Let's talk about COVID-19. Senator, sa kasalukuyan po, dalawang bagay ang alam natin tungkol sa COVID-19, tungkol sa pandemya. Ang una, pinadapa na tayo ng pandemya ito. According to DOH, over 3 million cases sa bansa, over 50,000 deaths as of today. Sabi naman ng Johns Hopkins COVID-19 dashboard, more than 300 million cases around the world and over 5 million deaths. Maraming mga Pilipino ang nawala ng trabaho, kabuhayan, at mga mahal sa buhay.
So ito mga idol, importante to sa issue COVID-19. So dito natin makikita kung sino ba talagang pwedeng karapat-dapat na mamuno at humawak. Paano na i-handle ang COVID-19 na naranasan natin yan na pandemic, di ba? So dito natin malalaman kung anong sagot ni BBM dito sa pag-handle ng COVID-19. So, panoorin natin ito.
Pangalawa po, Senador, aside from being vicious, this virus is unpredictable. Maraming mga variants na ang ating narinig. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, may delta plus, may omicron. The virus acquires genetic changes. It mutates, in other words. How, ano ang form niya sa susunod, kailan, nobody knows. Ang aking katanungan po, kung ikay papalarin manalo bilang presidente ng Pilipinas, and given the unpredictability and the viciousness of this virus, ano po ang iyong programa pagdating sa COVID-19?
Well, when it comes to COVID-19, ang lagi kong sinasabi dyan, I summarize it very simply. I call it jab to jobs. What we first have to do is to get vaccinated. And we have to roll out the vaccines properly. We have to make sure that the vaccines are effective and safe, have been handled properly. And now we have gotten to the point, the last statistic that I saw was 54 million Filipinos have been nabakunahan na, fully vaccinated na. Hindi pa tayo umaabot dun sa tinatawag na herd immunity. Kailangan talaga natin paabutin ng 70-75%. At sana yung kalagayan na nakikita natin sa Europa, sa ibang bansa, kahit tinatamaan ng Omicron, nag-positive, hindi na nila masyadong pinapansin kasi parang flu na lang para sa kanila dahil 95% sila vaccinated. So dapat yan ang habol natin. Once we get ourselves in a safer condition that we manage the pandemic, or we have to now be thinking, even now, even while we're just slowly working our way through the pandemic, ngayon pa lang, dapat iniisip na natin kung paano natin ibabalik ang ekonomiya. Kagaya ng sabi mo, ang daming walang trabaho, ang daming nasira ang plano, lahat. Ang palagay ko, I would even amend that. I would say, hindi marami, lahat ng kahit sino. Lahat ng tao sa buong mundo yata naramdaman itong COVID na ito. And so we have to come back to give our people, get them back to work. And how do we do that? We do that, in my view, we do that by revitalizing the MSMEs, the small businesses that comprise 95% of our businesses and 62% of our employment in businesses. And they have been very hard hit. The government can help them with the lower taxes or tax holidays, amnesties, etc. The private sector can come in with microfinancing and all that. Agriculture also needs to be looked at because it's a creator of jobs. And if the
Is this what you mean by the jobs to jobs concept?
Yes, the idea is just once we are in a safe condition, then we have to get people back to work. Yan lang naman ang habol. Pag tinanong mo ang Pilipino, ano palagay mo sa COVID? Yung COVID, wala akong trabaho, wala akong pera. So yun ang talagang dapat na priority. Ngayon pa lang pinaghahandaan natin. So agriculture, tourism, and we should do this, we should go back to the concept of PPPs, public-private partnerships. And that way, we can bring together different segments of government working together so that the economy will come back and hopefully come back even stronger than it was pre-COVID.
Of course, we're hoping na sana'y wala nang bagong variants na dumating. But sabi ko nga kanina, this is so unpredictable, we don't know what's going to happen next.
No.
Pagdating doon sa vaccination, hindi pa tayo nakakaabot doon sa 70, 75. What is your message to people who refuse to be vaccinated?
Well, they must understand that we cannot force people to be vaccinated. Karapatan ng tao yan. Hindi mo pwedeng pilitin na mag-vaccinate. Ngunit,
so ayan nga mga idol ha. So narinig niyo naman si Senator Bong Marcos. Hindi siya pabor. So hindi niya pipilitin kung sinong ayaw, sinong gusto magpa-vaccinate, magpabakuna dito laban sa COVID-19. So yan ang magandang kasi ako pabor din dyan sa my own opinion. Pabor din ako dyan na hindi dapat pilitin ang tao kung ayaw niya, kung gusto niya magpa-vaccine, di ba? So, malaking issue kasi ngayon katulad ngayon sa ngayong administrasyon na parang nire-required lahat ng bakunado, na magpabakuna lahat sa trabaho para ganyan daw, makaiwas. So, pabor ako dito sa sinabi ni BBM na hindi niya pipilitin ng mga tao na bakunahan o magpabakuna. Okay, panoorin ulit natin itong iba.
sana naman maunawaan nila na kapag sila ay hindi nagpapabakuna, ay yung lahat na nakapaligid sa kanila, pati na yung kanilang mahal sa buhay, kanilang pamilya, mga kaibigan, yung kanilang kabarangay, lahat yan ay linalagay nila at risk yan. Dahil kung sila ay tamaan, ay ikakalat nila yan. Ang statistic ngayon, ang mga nasa ospital na tinamaan ng Omicron na 85% are not vaccinated. Kaya't maliwanag naman ang science na sinasabi, malaking tinutulong ng pag-vaccinate. Kaya't sana hikayatin natin sila, sabihin natin, paliwanag natin. Ngayon, that will also, yung nangyayari ngayon, it will also limit their own options when in their everyday lives. Hindi makapunta sa restaurant, hindi makasakay sa public transport, all of these things. So, but rather than punish them, I think we should really convince them that this is important. It is important for your work, it is important for your community, for your family.
You spoke about the socio-economic recovery of people. Very briefly lang, yung lockdown ng lockdown ng lockdown.
No,
Your comment.
No more lockdowns. Hindi na kaya ng Pilipino mag-lockdown. Hindi na.
So, ayun na mga idol narinig nyo. Ayaw ni BBM o ni Senator Bongbong Marcos ng lockdown na. So, totoo naman yan. Kasi ang lockdown, nakaka-apekto talaga sa ating ekonomiya. Malaking epekto niyan. So, pag laging lockdown, wala. Nga. Tayong lahat dyan. So, para sa kanya, ayaw niya ng lockdown. So, maganda. Panoorin pa natin ulit mga idol.
Nila kaya. It is too hard. They're going to too much hardship already. They just cannot do it. Maraming nga sinasabi, yung labag sa protocol, sinasabi, hindi na bali magkasakit, basta may kita ako.
Let's talk about poverty. According to Philippine Statistics Authority, PSA, October ng 2001, 3.27 million ang walang trabaho. October 2010, 2.79 million Filipinos had no work. October of 2016, 2 million. October of 2021, 3.5 million ang walang trabaho. Ayon naman sa SWS, Social Weather Station, ang mga kababayan nating nagugutom in percentages taking into consideration the fluctuation of the population. Ang third quarter of 2001, 9.3% ang nagugutom or people who identify themselves as hungry. Third quarter of 2010, 15.9%. Third quarter of 2016, 10.6%.
So, importante ito mga idol, poverty. Gutom. Kagutuman dito sa ating bansang Pilipinas. So, tingnan natin kung anong sagot dito ni BBM about dito sa poverty na naranasan natin. Hindi lang kundi karamihan ng mga Pilipino mga idol. So, pakinggan natin kung anong kanyang masasabi dito.
6%. September 2021, 10% or around 2.5 million Filipinos ang nagugutom. Ang aking katanungan, Senador, sa kasalukuyan, sabi ng PSA, merong 3.5 milyong Pilipino na walang trabaho, 2.5 milyong Pilipino naman ang nagugutom pag ikay nahalal na presidente ng Pilipinas. With these urgent problems of joblessness and hunger, ano po ang inyong gagawin?
Well, of course, ang mahaharapin ng bagong administrasyon ay talagang we have to create jobs because we cannot just leave the situation as is. We also nag-uwi tayo ng mga OFW. We are up to about 700,000. Those people who have come home, wala na silang trabaho dahil nawala yung trabaho nila sa abroad. Tapos yung mga gina-graduate natin ng mga estudyante. Kaya talagang ang pinaka-importante ay maparami natin ang trabaho at para pasiglahin natin ang ekonomiya. And again, as I started to enumerate it earlier, I think the way to do it is to go to the MSMEs and give them the support that they need so that makabangon ulit sila, makatayo na naman ang mga maliliit na negosyo na yan. Ang agrikultura is a big creator of jobs. So if the government invests publicly in agriculture, marami yan kasi hindi naman pinag-uusapan yung nagsasaka lamang Pinag-uusapan natin ang mga support systems for fisheries, for livestock. So marami kaagad ang may involved dyan. And it also will take care of the problems that we saw during COVID ng lack of food supply. The other area where we have to bring the Philippines to foreigners and to explain to them that this is a good place to be. But in the meantime, habang hindi pa lumilipad ang mga eroplano, habang hindi pa nakakabiyahe ang mga turistang galing abroad, unahin na muna natin ang domestic tourism. Marami naman sa Pilipino because ang napuna ko is that every time that may area na may tourist destination, magbukas lang ng konti, dagsaan ka agad ang tao. And so that is, I think, one of the possibilities that we can enter into.
Senator Bongbong, doon lamang sa hunger, pupuntahan ko lang. Dahil 2.5 million are hungry right now. What is your, I know you're talking about long-term, doon sa paghahanap ng trabaho. We'll talk about it, the small and medium enterprises. Pero ano ang immediate na solusyon mo doon sa mga nagugutom na tao?
Ngayon, ayuda pa rin. Yung tupad pa rin, yung AX pa rin. Diyan nabubuhay pa ang tao sa ngayon eh. Hanggat yung mga trabahong pinag-uusapan natin, hanggat lumabas na yan at hanggang may pagkakataon na sila na makapagtrabaho ulit, umaasa talaga sila diyan. At
Can the government afford that?
the government, not forever. Certainly not forever. But we still have to find ways. That's why the government talagang nag-realign ng pondo nalipat from other departments dahil para i-concentrate dito. But but even Filipinos understand that hindi ito forever, kaya kailangan may trabaho. Ngunit sa ngayon, hanggat wala pa yung trabaho, talagang umaasa ang tao sa ayuda.
May pagkakaiba bang ayuda at saka ang dole-out?
Hindi.
Pareho?
Hindi. It's a transfer payment, as they call it in economics. It's not. But it's, you know,
So, magkaiba po yun?
Hindi, ganun din.
Pareho rin?
Pareho lang eh. Dahil,
Alright.
it's, walang kapalit. For example, yung, basta't magbibigay ka lang ng ayuda. But, it is not the same. It is something that it is not the same as yung sinasabi nila. Pagka nagbigay ka lang ng pera, walang mangyayari dyan. Kailangan lagyan mo ng sistema, etc., etc. Pero dito ngayon, iba yung usapan dito. It is an emergency. And so we have no choice.
It's an immediate solution to an urgent problem.
Right now, unless you provide jobs, unless we're fully vaccinated, that's the only solution.
Senador, mabilisan lamang because you talk about pagbigay ng suporta doon sa mga small, medium enterprises. Very briefly lang, para maintindihan ng taong bayan, paano gagawin yun? It comes from the government, magbibigay ng kapital ang gobyerno?
I think you'll find lahat ng aking mga solusyon will involve many sectors of the economy, many sectors of society. In this case, I think the private sector has to be involved. The government cannot do it by itself. Hindi kaya ng private sector na nag-iisa. So, kailangan talagang magsama at magtulungan ang private sector. Kailangan din naman ng private sector yung mga MSMEs. Kailangan ng mga magandang agrikultura. Kaya basta pareho ang ating ninanais at makagawa tayo ng magandang partnership, sa palagay ko magkakaroon what yung tinatawag, what we call synergy between the two forces that are helping the Philippines.
Okay. Punta naman po tayo sa OFW, the Filipino migrants.
So, ayun mga idol, OFW sa. So, lockdown natin dito. Maghanap tayo ng natin, fast forward natin. So, tayo.
Ng Pornhub, isang online adult video streaming website. Sabi dito, ang mga Pinoy daw spend 11 minutes and 30 seconds watching porn, making the Philippines top one, beating Japan and France. At saka ngayon, some of the known media sites, apps, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook groups ay ginagawa ng alternative porn sites. This is a story about this young American songwriter, singer, Billie Eilish. In an interview, she revealed that 11 years old, she was exposed to porn. Hanggang naging addict siya sa porn. She was addicted to porn. And
gusto kong marinig yung anong masasabi niya sa mga katunggali niyang presidential.
That's more what I'm.
And that's a more important consideration to you than, religion.
If you're
Ano ba? Saan kaya bandayan?
Drugs. Ano po ang programa mo laban dito?
Well, nakita natin, unang-una, kailangan natin ituloy ang war on drugs, kung tawagin. Because the problem continues to exist. Nandiyan pa rin ang problema.
Tutuloy niyo pa raw ang war and drugs, mga idol. So, ayos tayo dyan. Kailangan talaga natin sugpuin ng droga. Diba? So,
Kung
tutuloy niya raw.
itatanong mo, are we, I don't know what a narco state is, but we have seen, I think everybody can see the influence of the drug lords in our everyday lives, in our political lives, in our economic lives. And so, talagang insidious. Kaya actually, yung nag-uusap kami ni President Duterte noon, sabi niya talagang hindi ko na-imagine na ganito kalalim at ganito kabigat ang problema ng droga. Kaya para sa akin, kailangan natin ipagpatuloy ang laban kontra sa droga. Ngunit, siguro, nakita natin na talagang sinagad ni Pangulong Duterte ang pag-enforce ng mga batas against drug dealers and drug addicts. And I think we're beginning to realize that enforcement only takes you so far. Kailangan natin din pag-aralan ang prevention at saka ang cure. Ang prevention, ang pagtuturo sa ating mga kabataan na huwag silang papasok dyan sa ganyang klaseng bisyo, sa ganyang klaseng buhay, at masisira at mawawasak ang kanilang buhay. Kailangan paulit-ulit natin sinasabi all the way to grade school, paulit-ulit through high school na hindi talaga, na naririnig talaga nila yan. And the other thing is yung cure. Pagka sumabit na talaga yung tao, na-addict na, meron tayong rehab naman. When we treat them properly, we should expand our rehabilitation facilities, not just regional, which hanggang bawat probinsya siguro dapat meron. Dahil malala talaga ang problema.
So ayan, droga. Pagpatuloy ni BBM. War and drugs. So ano pa? Dito, tingnan natin.
Create value in our economy. And that value will be what we...
Gusto kong marinig yung sasabihin sa kung bakit ayaw may boto.
It's not a Philippine condition. It is a human condition. There are dishonest people in wherever you go. And they will...
Grabe tong interview na to.
Northeastern part ng Spratly Islands. Yan ang inaangkin. Hindi inaangkin.
Grabe yung interview na ito, mga idol. 1 hour, Isang oras. Tapos, ang views nito, umabot na ngayon, sa ngayon, 9,076,695 views sa YouTube. Grabe. So, ang daming nanood. Kung kay Jessica So, di ba, 6.6 million yung interview niya sa mga presidentiables. Ito si Tito Boy, kay Bong Marcos, umabot ng 9 million. Kay Lenny naman, I think sa mga 4 million ang views. Kay Lenny, kahapon yun. So, hindi natin makikita kung sinong gustong panoorin ng tao, mga idol. Diba? Diba?
Yan ang atin. There's a West Philippine Sea na patuloy na inaangkin ng Chile. Sa Subi, Zamora Reef at Mischief, Panganiban Reef ang tawag natin. At iba pa, nagtayo na ang China dito ng mga underground storage, missile shelters, radar arrays, and other facilities. Noong July 12, 2016, naglabas ng desisyon ang Permanent Court of Arbitration, PCA, pabor sa Pilipinas sa issue sa West Philippine Sea. Atin ang West Philippine Sea, sabi ng korte. Pero patuloy pa rin na inaangkin ito ng China. Tuloy din tayo sa pag-file ng mga diplomatic protests. As of December 2021, we have filed 241 protests, diplomatic protests, at nakatanggap naman tayo ng 152 na sagot. Tanong, bilang presidente ng Pilipinas, you are also the chief architect of foreign policy. My question is, you are applying to be president of this country. If all diplomatic efforts fail, do you think the Philippines is strong enough and prepared to fight a defensive war against China to protect our territorial sovereignty?
Well, first of all, I will go back to the premise. We must not allow diplomacy to fail. It is the only option that we have. The only way, there are three ways where territory can be gained or lost. And one is to arbitration with the agreement of both parties. Kasi arbitration nga, there's an arbiter between two different parties. Ang problema dyan sa China ay sinabi na nila, hindi kami signatory dyan, hindi kami makikinig kung ano man ang magiging findings ng court. So, nandun na tayo. So that arbitration is no longer an arbitration if there's only one party. So it's no longer available to us. The second way that territory is lost or gained is through war. Now, that I believe is a option that we must dismiss outright because it is a completely ludicrous assertion that going to war with China is going to be advantageous to the Philippines or even to China, for that matter. Nobody.
So, ayan mga idol Ito naman sinasabi ni BBM. Wala tayong kalaban-laban pa ngayon pag-giyera tayo sa China. So, yan ang na hindi tayo makipag-giyera. Wala lang tayong wala tayong kapasidad, wala tayong mga gamit, mga sundalo, di ba? So, kahit saan titingnan, wala tayong laban sa China. Kung may pagyera tayo, so kailangan talaga natin padaanin ng diplomatic. Diba? Protest. Sabi ni BBM. Yun ang sabi ni BBM. Pakinggan ulit natin.
Wants to go to war. China does not want to go to war. The Philippines must not go to war. The third way is by bilateral agreement. And that's what we are left with. Bilateral agreement with China. We must continue to engage China. So, if you talk about pure military capability, I think we all know that to compare the military capability of the Philippines, even if we are building up and we are modernizing our AFP, malayong-malayo talaga tayo sa China when it comes to men and material and capability to fight a shooting war. So, wag na nating pag-usapan yun dahil hindi talaga option yun. We must continue to engage the Chinese. And the diplomatic, pag nagpapadala tayo ng diplomatic protest, hindi sapat yun. We have to still continue to try and engage them in many ways. I always use the example of the United States and China. Maalala ninyo, naging malapit nagkaroon ng diplomatic relations ang China at saka ang United States. Nagsimulang usapan sa ping-pong. Sino naman may akala doon manggagaling yung solusyon? Kaya't subukan natin lahat ng paraan. Yung mga negosyanteng Chinese na may pamilya pa sa China, sabihin naman nila, baka tulungan nyo naman kami dito para baka maayos natin ito. Yung unahin natin, yung maliit lang na bagay, yung mga fisherman na hindi pinapapasok, yung mga mangingisda natin na siguro 100 taong na nangingisda doon, ngayon hindi na sila pwedeng pumasok. Unahin na muna natin yun. Yung kayang-kaya naman siguro na natin kausapin ng China, pabayaan nyo sila.
Senator Bong, tuloy-tuloy ang ating diplomasya. I mean, diplomatic, because you said diplomacy must not fail. Pero paano ka makikipag-negotiate sa bayang China na nakikipag-usap ka, halimbawa, pero hindi ka naman siniseryoso? I'll go to the point of the US and China, the ping-pong diplomacy. That's fine. But you know, China and the United States of America are on equal footing. Those are both superpowers. This is the Philippines and China. Maliit na bayan. Hindi tayo siniseryoso. Nakikipag-usap tayo, pero patuloy naman ang kanilang pagbibuild ng mga structures sa West Philippine Sea. So how do you continue diplomacy?
I think that we must engage. There is no other way. Anong ibang mga solusyon? Sasabihin natin, yung United States, pumasok uli kayo dito sa Pilipinas, kayo mag-defend sa atin. Hindi na pwede yun. Hindi na, kasi kung minsan...
Pero malaki ang interest nila sa South China Sea.
Malaki talaga ang interest nila sa South China Sea.
That's about over $5 trillion that pass through.
But we have to get past the old thinking ng Cold War na meron tinatawag na spheres of influence.
Yeah.
Bawat bansa namimili sa US kami, sa Soviet Union kami. Hindi na ganun ngayon. Ang iisipin lang natin, ano yung mabuti para sa Pilipinas? We continue to engage. Of course, we have a very strong, traditional, institutional relationship, special relationship with the United States.
Did you say you would invite the United States to get involved and help us?
No, no. That is the problem is between China and us. If
So the United States should be out.
if the Americans come in, it's bound to fail because you're putting the two protagonists together, and we must understand. Dalawang superpower na nasa gitna tayo, lit-lit natin. Ang biro ko nga, bumahing lang na sa bayan, mawawala na tayo sa mundo.
Senator Bongbong, doon lang sa arbitration. Sabi mo nga, paano ko mag-arbitrate? Sinabi naman ng China, hindi ko tinatanggap ang iyong imbitasyon.
Yeah.
Do you think is there value of the PCA's decision saying that the West Philippine Sea belongs to us?
There is value because they confirm.
Let's talk about our 10th question. Let's talk about the presidential qualifications.
Yes.
You are applying to be the President of the Republic of the Philippines. It's a very complex, gargantuan job.
So ayan mga idol, presidential qualification na. Tatanungin niya si BBM kung ano bang kanyang bakit siya ang iboboto ng tao, kung ano bang meron siya na wala sa ibang mga presidential aspirant. Bakit siya ang ating iboboto? Diba? Ito magandang mga tanong. So pakinggan natin kung ano mga sagot niya.
Inilista ko lamang ang ilan sa mga trabaho ng Presidente. Head of Government, Chief Architect of Foreign Policy, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, signs budgets, manages finance, appoints justices, recommended by the Judicial and Bar Council, confers National Artist Awards, manages disasters and pandemics, fights drug wars, head of her political party, has power over aliens, has power of eminent domain, practices general supervision over local governments, and pardons convicts. That's how complex, napakalawak, napakalaki, how daunting ang trabaho ng isang presidente. Samantala, sa ating saligang batas, Article 7, Section 2 of the 1987 Constitution, ang qualifications para maging isang presidente ay mga sumusunod. Number 1, natural-born Filipino. Number 2, a registered voter. Must be able to read and write. Number 4, 40 years of age at the day of the election. And number 5, must have resided in the Philippines 10 years before the election is held. Right now, as we talk, Senator Bongbong, napapanahon na ba para amyendahan ang provision na ito ng saligang batas? Oo, hindi, bakit?
Dahil, palagay ko hindi. Dahil the concept behind the way the Constitution has approached the qualifications for president is to come from the point na sinasabi, anyone should be allowed to be president. Dahil mahirap, hindi nakapag-graduate, pero marunong naman, dapat kung talagang kaya, pwede siyang maging pangulo. Hindi kailangan ng mga maging mayaman, hindi kailangan maging sikat, all of these things. And that's the idea behind that. But we also have to recognize that
So ayan mga idol, agree ako dun sa sinabi ni BBM na lahat ng tao may karapatang tumakbo, maging presidente kahit walang tinapos, walang pinag-aralan, kung ano naman siya, talagang dapat mamuno ng bayan, diba? Mga ganyan, mga bagay, magaling, diba? So, agree tayo dyan. Papanoorin pa natin iba.
I agree. Everyone should be allowed to be president. But not everyone can be a good president. So we have to pick with the fix, if you want to call it that, for that, is not to amend the Constitution and to amend the qualifications for president. It is to change the political system in terms of our choice of candidates. Dahil dahil yung multi-party system, kahit na lang sino, pwedeng magtayo ng partido basta may pera siya. At tatakbo, maging presidente, wala namang hindi talaga marunong, hindi namang qualified, walang magawa. Dati, nung two-party system tayo, we had the liberal and the nationalista. within the parties, everybody wants to be president. Lahat yan gusto mag-senador, mag-gobernador, mag-mayor. Pero sa loob ng partido mismo, ay namimili na. Tinitingnan sino bang pinakamagaling talaga dito, sinong ilalaban natin, sino imamanok natin na pwedeng senador. So pagpili ng isang partido, sasabihin nila, eto mga kandidato namin, ang parang mong sinasabi, eto na yung pinakamagaling talaga sa amin. Ngayon, dun sa kabilang partido, ganun din ang ginagawa. Kaya kung sino man, puro magagaling ang mga kandidato dahil pinagsabong na yan sa loob ng partido. So lumabas ang pinakamagagaling, ang pinakamekaya, kahit sinong mahalal, marunong. And that I think is the way we can, the way that we can. I was a great proponent of the multi-party system because of my experience studying abroad, where I see that it has worked. But it has not really been a successful experiment.
So you are for the two-party system in the Philippines?
I think because we lack the political maturity yet in the Philippines to understand that ideology must play a part in the multi-party system.
Yan po ang ibig sabihin nyo na ayusin natin ang ating political system by going back to the two-party system.
I think that
para
is-
nasala na yung mga kandidato na parang
Tama.
Great Britain, for example.
That-
There's a quote that says, every prime minister, there is no amateur who becomes a prime minister because you have to be an MP.
Yes.
You have to be an MP to be nominated to be prime minister. You wanted to say something, Senator?
Well, the difference between that and the two-party system is that their party stands for something. When you talk about the Conservative Party, they're conservatives. You talk about the liberal, they're liberal
Parang
in their
Democrats
in
and the
their thinking.
Republicans, may stand na sa taxes at saka sa abortion.
The Green Party in Germany started off as an environmental party for environmental issues. All of these things that we haven't yet learned to adopt. And that's why I think we should start thinking about going back to the old, simpler system that we can always guarantee that whoever is elected, I'm not talking only about the president, but whoever is elected in any position, all the way down to mayors and to councilors down at the lowest level, ay lahat yan may pinagdaanan na, may kakayahan
And you
na.
can effect changes without having to amend the Constitution. Am I right? I'm not very familiar with this.
No,
Kasi,
you cannot
no, I
do
mean,
it. You
but
cannot
you
do
can
that.
have rules, no? I mean, can you add? I mean, I don't know how to do it. But like Myanmar, for example, peculiarities ito eh. Hindi ka na pwede magpresidente pang iyong asawa ay foreigner because of the Aung San Suu Kyi.
That's right.
And then Turkey, I think, is higher education is required. Indonesia, ay high school graduate. France requires a bank account.
A bank account. Yeah.
So,
But
titingnan mo ito bilang presidente.
But you are already discounting a large part of the population. Now, if like Turkey, you say you need to have a college, you need to
Higher
have a college
education.
degree, then are you sure that every single citizen has access to a college education? If that's so, baka pwede yun. But we cannot guarantee that. You are, again, as I said, excluding immediately with no reason except their educational attainment, a large part of the population. Malay mo, yung isa dun genius na napakagaling na aayusin lahat ng
That one and many other requirements. Ang dami nilang mga requirements. Let's now go to the personal issue-based question, Senator Bongbong. According to Amnesty International, during your father's presidency, from 1972 to 1981, about 72,000 were imprisoned, 34,000 were tortured, and 3,240 were killed. Tanong, itong data ba na galing sa Amnesty International, Senator Bongbong, ito ba ay pawang kasinungalingan lamang?
Well, I do not know how they generated those numbers, and I haven't seen them. But let us ask Amnesty International to share that information that they have, and maybe it will help us make sure that the system works, and what alleged abuses occurred should not occur again. I think that's the only way that we can remedy that situation.
Now it's time to do our political fast talk.
Okay.
We have 60 seconds to do this. Senator Bongbong,
So ito na mga idol, fast talk na. Political fast talk. By Tito Boy Abonda. Okay, maganda to. Tingnan natin yung mga sagot ni BBM dito.
Bakit hindi dapat iboto si VP Leni Robredo?
Are you going to ask me this of each of the presidential candidates? Well, I'm very hesitant to answer that because I do not believe and I do not indulge in negative campaigning.
Okay.
But I will go this far. And I will say that I believe that none of the other candidates have yet come to the conclusion that unity, ang pagkakaisa, ang ating pangangailangan. At doon magsisimula ang ating pagbalik na dito sa krisis ng pandemya.
So that's your answer to Mayor Isko, Senator
To
Lacson?
all of them. I
To all
said
of
because they
And Senator Pacquiao?
and because of they have not seen that unity is a critical part.
Okay.
Then they have not been able to come up with a specific program, a detailed program for what we will do in the next years to recover from
Bakit
pandemic.
ikaw ang dapat iboto?
Yeah, it's a converse of that because my message is about unity. And
Narito na po tayo sa ating final question, answerable in 60 seconds, and I don't get to follow up.
Oh, di ba? Ganun ang sagot niya doon. So, then makikita yung kabaitan ni BBM sa kanyang mga kalaban. Kahit sa mga kalaban niya, mga idol. Ako mo hindi, kasi nasusunod doon. Diba? Walang paninirang sinasabi doon. Pawang mga ano lang. Kapuritan sa kanyang mga kalaban. Sa politika, mga idol. So, dyan natin makikita ang purity ng ating ng presidential aspirant ninyo na si BBM. Okay? Okay, ibang mga sagot niya. So, panoorin pa natin.
okay.
And the question is, March 19 of 2018, President Duterte withdrew the Philippines from the Rome Statute. When the withdrawal took effect on March 17, 2019, ang Pilipinas was no longer a member of the International Criminal Court, ICC. The withdrawal happened matapos si anunsyo ng then ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda ang pagbubukas ng preliminary examination sa Pilipinas with respect to the alleged crimes against humanity na nagaganap sa bansa dahil sa war on drugs. The President has threatened to arrest the ICC prosecutor if she conducts activities here in the Philippines because we are no longer an ICC member and the ICC has no right to do any investigating. November 10, 2021, the Philippine government requested a deferral of the ICC's request for examination under the principle of complementarity, claiming that the country had begun its own investigations. The current ICC prosecutor, Karim Khan, in a document dated November 18, sabi niya, they will temporarily suspend its investigation into the Philippines as it assesses the scope and effect of the government's request for deferral that cited the investigations being done ng ating Department of Justice. Human rights advocacy groups are urging the ICC to proceed with the investigation, to not further delay justice for the victims. The question is, hypothetical, sumulat ang ICC prosecutor na si Karim Khan at nagre-request na siya at ang kanyang team ay pumunta dito sa Pilipinas para simulan ang preliminary investigation sa di umano'y mga krimen laban sa sangkatauhan na may kinalaman sa war on drugs ni President Duterte. Ano po ang inyong gagawin? Papayagan mo ba sila pumunta dito sa Pilipinas? Oo, hindi, at bakit?
Papayagan ko sila dito, pero magturista lang sila. Dahil ang pagkaunawa ko sa ICC, the ICC is there pagka walang judiciary na nag-ooperate sa isang bansa. Dahil nagkagera, dahil nasira lahat, the economy has collapsed, etc., for whatever reason. Diyan papasok ang ICC. We have a functioning judiciary. And that's why I do not see the need for a foreigner to come and do the job for us, to do the job for our judicial system. Our judicial system is perfectly capable of doing that. And it also raises a great many questions about jurisdiction and sovereignty. What is their jurisdiction to come here into the Philippines and conduct an investigation? Is that not a violation of our rights as a sovereign nation in the community of nations? Those questions need to be answered before they can be allowed any investigation.
Senator Bongbong, maraming salamat.
Oh my, that went very quickly. Maraming
Maraming salamat. Thank you for your time.
Ayan.
Hello!
So ayan mga idol, narinig nyo at napanood nyo ang mga sagot ni BBM sa kanyang interview ni Tito Boy Abunda. So kayo nang bahala, humusga kung okay ba o ganyan ba ang mga sagot.
Comment.
Maraming sagot yan.
Comment.
Mga sagot, ha?
Comment.
Mga comment. Di ba?
You.
Oh, sige mga idol. So, taong bayan pa rin ng huling magdidesisyon kung sinong iboboto yung presidential. Okay? So, thank you for watching. Hanggang dito ulit tayo. See you to my next vlog in live mga idol.